So there was a big debate tonight between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And I want to say that I think, without a doubt, Bernie Sanders just crushed Biden in a lot of ways. But let me tell you the first one that I take as being really significant, and that is this. I think Joe Biden was at his best. And that's a problem. Because the thing that we all kind of thought would happen tonight is that Joe Biden would, what's the word I'm trying to say without being mean? His faculties would give out on him. That he would have one of those clips we've been hearing everywhere, and he would mess up. But he didn't. He was in, his prime, so to speak, and he still got beat up on. And that, I think, is the big takeaway is, okay, we're saying that Biden is our front runner, Bernie's not. Bernie just beat up our front runner. And what's Trump going to do to him? Now, granted, Biden is going to be walking into this, if we're even voting in November, Biden's going to be walking into this with a huge boon. And that is the fact that the coronavirus was, in a large part, helped along by the Trump administration. Even my conservative friends are like, yeah, he shouldn't have cut funding to things like the CDC. He should have been working with the World Health Organization. There's a lot of things he should have been doing that he just wasn't, and that's gonna really hurt Trump. But I've also recently saw a study that shows that like I think 48% of Americans think Trump's handling this well. So it's hard to exactly say. But okay, and another way that Bernie really just got on Joe. Number one is he brought up his record. Joe Biden has an awful record. Um, and he seemingly, here's the other thing that Bernie comes out looking. Joe actually basically said he's for open borders. He said he won't deport any illegal, and he also said alien, but illegal immigrant who comes into this country unless they commit a felony. That's advocating for open borders. He then also, and I think this is another thing that really is good for Bernie, is he also bashed Bernie for not backing the Brady bill. Which for a lot of people, like the Brady bill is a good thing until you actually look deeper into the Brady bill and understand that it's not. And I don't want to get to the significance of it, but to gun owners, the Brady bill is not a great start, and even to advocates um, for gun right or for gun safety, the Brady bill doesn't go that far. It's kind of a hollow argument. And Bernie had Biden in a lot of those situations. They were talking about climate change. And Bernie Sanders is basically like, look, you want to get into Paris Climate Accord again? Great, fine. But whatever, who cares? And he said that, and Biden like looked shocked, like, oh, how could you say who cares? Well, because the Paris Climate Accord doesn't actually require them to do anything. It's just empty rhetoric. And if they don't follow these arbitrary levels that they say they're going to, then maybe there's a little bit of like a tax, but even then, there's really not. It's not hard because it's not a bill, it's not a law. It's like an agreement. And they go back on their agreements all the time. It's really no big deal. And Bernie came in with things that he actually wanted to implement. So those are all like policy things that your political nerds are going to be like, yeah, Bernie definitely beat Biden. The other big one, and I think this is as important as the first one I mentioned, um, Bernie basically cornered Joe into admitting, or not, I should say admitting, but he cornered Joe about boasting and advocating for cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And Bernie asked him straight up, are you saying you've never stood on the Senate floor and advocated for cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? And Joe Biden looked straight into the camera, right into every American's eyes watching it, and said, no, I never did that. And for any of you who know politics, you know that video's out there. there's more than one, to be honest. But there's a very famous one, and it is trending on Twitter right now. It's, hot on YouTube. Everyone's watching this video. Everyone's retweeting it, sharing it on Facebook. Like, what? I thought you said no. And the thing is for the American people, here's the thing. As a Democrat, we don't want a loser. And go back to my first point, Bernie beat Biden handedly, and he beat a healthy, strong Biden. So there's that aspect. And then this one, we don't want a liar. We've had 4 years of a liar. How's that liar working out right now? I mean, there's mass confusion. We have no idea about, things pertaining to the coronavirus, like testing sites, the numbers. We don't know. And every time the president speaks right now, we're confused because someone else will come out. The whole Google story that he said Google was working on a website. Turns out, no, they weren't. We don't need a liar right now. And Joe Biden point blank lied to the American people tonight. It only really looks really good for Bernie. Now, I want to get into something else that I think is a little bit more relevant, and I don't know if it's going to mean anything, but whenever you hear the Bernie bros and the argument that they're conspiracy theorists and they're talking about rigged elections, and it kind of goes in one ear out the other, and I understand it, I really do, because let's be honest, you don't have time for it, and it seems like there's a lot of it. And it seems like, hey, this might have been a time when Bernie Sanders may have just not gotten the votes, and the Bernie bros can't handle it. All right, so, and that's a fair assessment, except for the fact that that's not a fair assessment at all. And in fact, the fact that it is rigged. Now, I shared some of the pictures from the TMDS research. I believe that's the website who does it, or the company who does this, and they put it on this website. Anyway, they research elections. And so the first thing to know is that according to the UN, exit poll discrepancies exceeding 4% significantly signify election fraud. Man, that's a hard thing to say. But yeah, so any exit poll that doesn't match up to about 4% signifies election fraud. All right, so that's the thing to go. And by the way, it's tdmsresearch.com. So you can see this yourself. So here's what we have so far. And these are discrepancy numbers. Now, first off, I want to compare it to 2019 Bolivia. We all thought it was a problem. It's a rigged election. We have to do something about it. We wanted the UN in there. We wanted independent people to count. All this is going on. We've talked about Russia. Russia has these rigged elections for Putin. It's an oligarchy, blah, 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 which it is, by the way. And their exit poll discrepancies, like, let's say in Bolivia, it was, I think in the single digits, I want to say. Russia has been like 15% difference, and you could argue all day, yeah, but who's going to actually be honest in the election, in the exit polls in Russia? Fair enough, I'll agree to that, but this is the standard. The standard is if exit poll discrepancies exceed 4%, it signifies election fraud. Here's what we have so far. In California, Bernie Sanders exit poll discrepancies, negative 11.1%. Biden, 15.3% in the positive. In Texas, Bernie Sanders, negative 11.8%. Biden, 1% in the positive. In Massachusetts, Bernie Sanders, 12.4% in the negative. Joe Biden, 16.2% in the positive. South Carolina, Bernie Sanders, 6.6 negative. Biden, plus 8.3 in the positive. And Bernie Sanders in Vermont was 11% in the negative, and Joe Biden 26.1 in the positive. If this was any other country, we would be number one, saying this is election fraud. Number two, we would be calling for independent vote counters. And the other thing to take from this too is that all caucus states, they do a hand count. All caucus states, Bernie has won, and won exceedingly. Look, I don't want to get into this rabbit hole of it's rigged, but there is so much information in here that makes me believe, Jesus Christ, this is rigged. I can't believe it. And the part of the reason that I have a problem with this is I'm not seeing anyone complain about it or freak out about it or anything. There's one other guy talking about it, Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore has been the only one saying, look at these numbers. Even people that we would expect to talk about it, like Crystal Ball or Cenk Uygur or even Kyle Kalevsky, any of these people are not talking about it. For God's sakes, Bernie Sanders isn't talking about it. But this is real data, and this is sitting right here in front of us. I want to believe that I'm not going crazy, but and down some rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, but I can't. The numbers don't lie, so to speak, and I think this is a big thing that we need to pay attention to and that we need to handle. And I want to be completely clear on this too. If you're an Elizabeth Warren fan, her numbers are also skewed very bad. We don't, and that's the thing. I don't know. Number wise, it looks like it was done by somebody who supported Biden. Okay, but there is other people who are also getting screwed in this. It's not just all I had was Bernie versus Biden, but I saw Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts, if I remember it, she was negative like 26%. She probably actually won Massachusetts. This this has got to be called out, and we've got to do something about it. At some point, we're either going to have to say, you know what, fuck it, we're an oligarch. We are no different. Like, we change the names, but we keep the same goddamn government and the same people who are running around. Just like Hollywood, just like everything in this country. It's nepotism to death. We either do that or we change shit and we actually let our opinion be known. We stand up for what we believe in. And for some of us at a certain age, we also get our asses out and vote. And I know you're going to say, well, it doesn't matter. And maybe it doesn't. But at least we share this stuff. We show that we're there. And look, the people who voted, we wouldn't have the exit poll discrepancies if they hadn't voted. So, yes, your vote actually does matter. It matters more than you think. Maybe it's not going to matter, the next day or two, but if anyone ever goes back over this, we're going to see. And look, I want to be clear on this too. If we have another 2016 issue, there's going to be a massive exit from the Democratic Party. I don't know where a lot of us are going to go. Maybe we're going to end up in our own party. There's been ideas that AOC and Bernie and, Ro Khanna and Rashida Tlaib, and they're all going to start their own party, and that's the party we're going to go to. I don't know, and I don't know if I will. But I am saying that I will not stand for a Democratic Party who is cheating openly. We set a standard globally of what we consider is election fraud. And here it is. And we're not even meeting it, we are exceeding it above and beyond. And something should be done. And there should be independent counts on all these fucking votes. Look, we have time now. Sadly, that's one thing we really do have. We have a couple weeks just to sit and let things, to figure things out. We don't have to rush this along anymore. I think we have more than a couple good excuses for extending the presidential elections until 2021. Let's take the time and count the damn votes and find out who actually won. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the debate if you watched it. I'm sure you probably did. I mean, get away from everything else. What are your thoughts about this whole thing? The TDMS research has brought up, and other people have kind of brought it up, the whole rigged election thing. Again, I do want to say that I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. I wanted to be, well, Bernie lost. We tried. The kids, they didn't get out and vote. Because you do start to feel like maybe I should put the tinfoil hat on and start yelling about frogs being gay. Like it's time to start selling colloidal silver to cure coronavirus. I don't want to be that. but I can't ignore that. So anyway, really, really curious what you guys all think. Anyway, have a good evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.